job market is oversaturated with young people who are so motivated, proactive, they're ready, they've done really a good job at uni, and now nobody wants them. Imagine that you're someone who just loves the sun, the beach, you love mingling, you love people, and then you end up being in a company where you work 14 hours behind a desk. Often they might find themselves socially isolating, ruminating in their head. Did I say something wrong? Did I say too much? Did I miss the point?
How do you then shift to healthier emotions? Nadine, welcome to the Everything You Are podcast. How do you feel?
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, me too. I'm very happy that you're here. And actually, because you were the first psychologist that I ever saw, and I learned a lot with you. So you were actually one of the first people in my list when I decided to do this podcast that I want to speak with. So thank you very much for coming here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Tammy.
So, Nadine, you're a psychotherapist and you practice two types of therapy, so
Right.
CBT and schema therapy.
Right.
Do you often have young adults that come and see you in your practice?
Absolutely. I have quite a few young adults who come. And I vary between both therapies. I use both. With regards to the CBT, the cognitive behavioral therapy, I am specialized in something called rational emotive behavior therapy, REBT, which is going to target our emotions, unhealthy emotions that keep us stuck. So I find that it's very useful with their problems, usually.
Can you explain a bit? I remember when I saw you, you explained to me the ABC model, and I really liked it. Like, I remember after the session, I went to explain all my friends about it. But can you explain a bit this model and how you use it?
Sure. So at the time, we were talking about REBT.
Yes.
And the principles of rational emotive behavior therapy. So this model is the core principle of REBT, and it's the model for the principle of emotional responsibility. So we said that if you are unhappy in a situation, say you're feeling really angry or hurt or jealous or envious, right? So this model the ABC model is going to say that you're feeling this way as a result of the way you perceive what's happening. So the event we're going to put under A. The belief that you're holding about that event is going to go under B for beliefs. And your reaction is going to go under C, which is the consequences to the beliefs that you're holding around the activating event in A. The first indication is how you're feeling. If you're feeling unhappy in a situation or in life, it's good to ask yourself, so what is it that's making me unhappy? Like, when did this, let's say, anxiety kick in? And then try to go over the different steps that took place just before. And then when you identify the moment when you started feeling anxious, that was the event that ticked me off, right? And then remember that between whatever's happening and your emotions, there is going to be a certain translation or perception going on for you. Because if other people were in your shoes, they would not have felt that way. And it's good then to go back and ask yourself if you're catastrophizing what's happening, you're overestimating how bad it is, or if you're just being rigid about what you would have preferred. And that gives you a lot of self-empowerment, because you can change how you feel by changing the way you're thinking.
Yeah, that's why I like this model a lot, because you can apply it to every situation and ask yourself, absolutely, what am I thinking? Is it true? What could I be thinking that would make this better? So it's a really powerful tool that anyone can use.
Absolutely.
And are there events where you can't really shift a negative emotion to a positive emotion?
Yes, it's not, in this model, we don't advocate changing negative emotions to positive ones. Because let's face it, Camille, if you're faced with a negative event, so let's say your boyfriend's stabbed you in the back, cheating with your sister.
Yeah.
Right. How could I convince you that there's anything positive about that?
Yeah.
That for you to feel positively about it. In fact, we advocate negative emotions for negative events, but healthier ones, ones that are not going to keep you emotionally stuck and defeat you and not help you think of constructive solutions, right? Having said that, if you're faced with a very negative event, it's expected that at the beginning for you to have a very strong reaction, and that's healthy, it's normal. But the trick is, if you're not able to get over that event and still feel emotionally stuck months later or weeks, or depending what the event is, then that's when we go on to ask, what kind of, or just to check what kind of beliefs you're holding around what's just happened, what happened to you some time ago, or 6 months ago, whatever. It's when you're stuck.
Okay, so it's about timing
as well, depending on what it is.
Do you have an example of, let's say, for example, if your boyfriend cheated on you, of an unhealthy negative emotion and healthy negative emotion, and then the beliefs for each of them?
Right. So if he cheated on you and you're thinking, oh my God, this is awful, like the worst thing ever that's can happen to me. It shouldn't have happened. I cannot tolerate it. And really, it means he's a bad person, he's a cheater, or all men are cheaters, or then you're really going to get angry and disturb yourself or feel hurt. If you're thinking that I don't deserve this, it shouldn't have happened to me, you're going to get hurt and then probably get angry or depressed as a result of that. Now, we're not saying it's not a negative event if that were to happen. But you're going to deal with the situation much better if you're feeling annoyed as opposed to angry, and disappointed as opposed to hurt, right? Because when you're angry, you're going to want to act aggressively or passive aggressively. You're going to plot revenge. You're going to think that they've done that on purpose or with malicious intent. See, every emotion comes with certain inferences, certain thoughts. If you were more annoyed, you're going to think that they messed up, but let me see why. Right? You're more willing to communicate.
Okay.
And find solutions. So if you're thinking of that this person is actually not, his behavior indicates that you can't trust him anymore, then if you're annoyed, you're more likely to leave.
And what would be the belief in the case where you're annoyed?
But if you're annoyed, that's a good question. You're going to be thinking, you know what, it's something that is really bad, but it's not the worst thing ever. At least, I'm not married to this guy. I don't have kids with this guy. I still, I have the chance. I'm still healthy enough to have a chance to be with other people. You also want to be holding the conviction that it could happen. Just because you really didn't want it to happen, it doesn't mean that the guy had to be faithful and not cheat on you. Where is that written? Who says that he shouldn't have done that? As a human, he's capable of doing that. He wouldn't have been capable of floating or turning into invisible guy, but he's able to cheat. He's capable of that. So the sooner you acknowledge, you accept that, the sooner you know what to do about it.
Yeah, and it's not like you're indifferent. You're still disappointed. You're still annoyed, but
totally. It's still, you tell yourself it's not okay. We're not saying it's okay. It's good to acknowledge how you're feeling, validate,
Mm.
Allow yourself, to feel everything you're feeling because you're feeling it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the point of saying, oh, no, I shouldn't be angry? You are feeling angry, so live it, feel it. What's really important then for you to do is to ask yourself, right, what is it that's making me angry? Is it really what happened, or am I making myself angry by the way that I'm, thinking about what just happened here?
I feel like it's also a habit of self-reflection and being aware of how you're feeling, what happened, what you're thinking, that we have to instill in our lives.
Yeah, I think that, this, if we talk about responsibility, we can also talk about emotional responsibility and how responsible you are for, either disturbing yourself emotionally or keeping yourself emotionally in check, in control, and be able to reach your goals. So be able to think constructively. So there is a certain amount of responsibility here towards yourself, because being emotionally disturbed is going to determine whether how you're going to function in life, whether in a job or socially or in a relationship. Your mindset is going to affect all areas of your life.
What are the most common emotional, psychological problems that young adults face today?
Well, there's a lot of anxiety going on, anxiety about failing, about not being up to standards. There's also the social pressure of losing approval. Also, after university, you're out there, not in a structured environment, and it's up to you to make friends as well. So there's mostly, I would say, anxiety as emotional problems, and a bit of shame as well. There's quite a bit of shame attached to failing.
Is that mostly related to their careers, so their career path, succeeding in that?
I think that that's the main focus for the young adults that I see. There's also another important focus, which is the negative judgment. I see that with actually men more than with women.
Okay.
Yes. And they're quite afraid of, often, they're very anxious about, not being able to integrate socially.
How do you identify that if someone has negative judgment? What does it consist in?
For people who are afraid of being judged negatively, they're going to exhibit a lot of shyness. Often they might find themselves socially isolating, just doing the necessary and being very much, on the side. They're going to be observing others and ruminating in their head as to what are they thinking. Did I say something wrong? Did I say too much? Did I miss the point? Did I misbehave? There's going to be a lot of that going on for them. And also they're going to be preferring, I guess, not to engage too much. It's going to be a very unhappy event for them to be socially present, unless they're with very close friends or with close family with whom it feels safe to be authentic and spontaneous. Yeah.
And that happens more during this transition because we are in new environments with people that we don't know.
Exactly.
That's what, okay.
Exactly, yeah.
And so when you have young adults that come and they have, or maybe people in general that come and they have this behavior and these thoughts, how do you treat that?
I would address the anxiety behind that. The fear, so the anxiety about being judged negatively is a result of how they perceive being judged by others or not being approved of.
Do you feel like we all have that to a certain extent, that we want approval from others and we fear being judged?
I think all of us enjoy a tap on the back, but somebody with anxiety related to that is going to put too much attention on other people's reactions and approval. If it's just the healthy way of seeking approval, it's more about feeling concerned and doing what it takes not to lose approval. But your life's not going to change if people don't approve of you. If you're thinking about approval in a flexible and realistic way, you're going to understand and tell yourself that not everyone can like you and has to like you, and the whole world is very complex and people are very different. And I mean, look at you. I mean, do you like everyone? Do you approve of everyone?
Not necessarily. Like, I feel like I respect everyone, of course, but yeah, for sure, you can't like everyone and get along with everyone at the same level.
Yeah, I mean, you meet a lot of people in life, and I can't imagine someone approving or liking or admiring every single person they meet.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the same for you. So it's not logical to really think that just because I want everybody's approval, therefore everybody must approve and admire and like me. So if you accept that, it becomes much easier, and you will then, instead of focusing on others, you start focusing on yourself. Because often in social situations, if you're so focused on how you're saying things and how others are reacting to that, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And you're not going to enjoy that event. And it's self-defeating, because if your goal is to be to integrate and start making new connections and friendships and be liked by others, then you're actually not reaching that goal when you're afraid of that not happening. Do you see how it fires back on you? So I would work on the perception of the perception around being judged negatively, judged as too short or uncool or not attractive or not smart enough, or whatever they think others might judge them for, or might dislike them for. Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes we know rationally that it's not, the way we're thinking is not benefiting us, but still it can take some time to go towards a new way of thinking. So
yeah, so absolutely, Camille, because we've been for a long time repeating to ourselves that how things must happen. So whenever I'm faced with my I don't know, let's say at work, with in a situation where I've handed in work, I've done my project, and I don't get rewarded emotionally or verbally. Such situations are going to remind you emotionally, so they're going to bring back emotionally for you other past situations where you would also were expecting such recognition from school, from a home, from friends, from maybe partners. And over the years, if you've been repeating to yourself again and again that things must happen this way, I must get the recognition, I must be admired for my good grades or whatever. So for a long time, you've been repeating that rigidity in your mind. So of course, for you to stop thinking that way, you're going to have to start repeating the more flexible mindset again and again, for it to be integrated, and you emotionally start feeling differently. Yeah. And if you repeat that mindset to yourself convincingly, then you are going to believe it emotionally. You will feel better.
So you see anxiety about not being accepted or integrated or recognized for who you are and what you're doing.
Yes, approved of, admired, yeah.
And what about also anxiety about making the right decisions in your life, in your career?
Yeah, I mean, that could be quite tough, especially if you come from a background where there was a lot of guidance and direction given to you. It's important to be in the right career so that you can enjoy it. Imagine that you're someone who just loves the sun, the beach, you love mingling, you love people, you like talking to people, and you just like the nightlife, you like socializing, and then you end up being in a consulting company where you work 14 hours behind a desk, and you're constantly working with numbers and creating projects or whatever indoors. It's not going to make you happy. After a while, you're going to feel really drained. And when you're feeling so drained and tired and not enjoying it, that might put you in an emotional state of feeling completely detached and numb. You're going to start numbing your feelings. And so you're not going to enjoy what you're doing. It's important to be in the right career. So someone like that might want to end up being, a hotel manager in the Bahamas, maybe, or somewhere where it's really nice, right? In Tahiti, in Fiji, where it's a drinks sunset, and then you're talking to a lot of people, right? But then they find themselves in Dubai behind a desk. And working 14 hours a day in something they really don't want to be in. So it is important, but how to do it? I mean, that's the key thing, right? Yeah.
So because I feel like you can notice when you're not happy in your career, but I think there are two things. So first, maybe you don't know what you want to do, so how to find what you want to do. And also maybe another part of it is having expectations of other people. So maybe parents, societal expectations that you think are blocking you from going towards this.
Absolutely. So if we talk about expectations, upbringing is very important. The way that your dynamic is with your family members. So if you come from a background where you're all very enmeshed with each other, very close knit, and so your values and sense of direction and choices have to be aligned with mom and dad or mom or the family members, then you would have learned for a long time to put your true self and true inclinations on hold and put that on the side, because that, if you were to go there, you're going to go against what's expected of you and what's acceptable at home. And if that happens for the child, then they might lose the connection with the parents, and that would be very painful. So the child growing up will quickly learn to be to surrender and comply with the parents' wishes and preferences. And they're not always preferences. Sometimes they're demands, and they can be actually punished for going differently otherwise. So if you come from such a background, it's going to be it's out of the question for you to go back to the true self and ask yourself, what do I like? Because actually you don't know anymore what you like. Very often you've lost the true self somewhere. You've buried it quite deeply, and now you're you've been used to doing what you were told to do and not what you really wanted to do or like to do. And that we're talking about activities and sense of dressing and what kind of books you enjoy reading, what's your preference regarding food, stuff like that. So in some families, you're not left with a lot of choice. You have to not only follow, but like also what the rest of the family likes.
Yeah.
So, and also you would get admiration. You could be getting admiration for doing what you're asked of. So people pleasing. And that stays with you. And that need to people please is going to stay with you as well. And so you end up wearing a people pleasing mask for a long time. And also with the choice of career. So if you're taking that consulting job in Dubai instead of being in the Bahamas, working in that hotel, you're going to be doing it because if you don't, then you might lose approval, admiration. You might lose the connection with your family. You might feel like you're doing something terribly wrong. You should feel guilty. And you actually don't know sometimes what you like. So if it's the case, then I would recommend that you become aware of that.
I remember when I saw you told me do a list of everything that you like.
Yes.
And it was really helpful as an exercise, like other people can do it too, to become more aware.
Exactly. So from everything, colors to food to activities to your favorite coffee shop, or what is it that you like to do on weekends. And in order to reconnect with the true self and refocus internally. So that would be a good exercise. Another thing is to address the consequences of, what if I go to the Bahamas? What if I make that choice instead of being stuck in Dubai and making much more money, and it might look better on my CV, but what I want to do is be somewhere hot. And I mean, not hot because Dubai is hot, but somewhere chill and by the beach, and some place where I can really follow my preferences and be authentic. What are the consequences of doing that? What would be scary for me? And then check out again. Would it be that bad? Would it be something I could tolerate if that happened to me? Who's looking after me? I mean, if I don't look after me, who's going to look after me? My happiness at some point is going to be my responsibility.
And how do you deal with family expectations at that point when you found what you want to do or what you think you would like to do and you want to explore? And you have to maybe not confront, but you have to express that. How do you go about doing this? Maybe it depends on the person, the context, everything.
Yeah. So if it's losing approval that you're afraid of, then you're going to have to take that risk and put up with this lots of approval, and tell yourself that I mean, it's bad, but it's not end of the world for me if I lost approval. When it comes to family, usually you know that you wouldn't lose their love. Then you go back to thinking, what are the pros and cons of going my way and making myself happy versus, losing a family member's approval. But if it is what you're afraid of is not losing approval, but rather losing an aggressive reaction, punishment, or humiliation, then here, because if you were brought up that way, to sacrifice what you want out of fear of abandonment or fear of punishment, then you're probably going to feel that way too when you're faced with such a decision. But remember, you're an adult today and you can cope with this. It's difficult to set boundaries, but you have the right to have a voice and your choices. You have the right to exist as you are, the way that you according to your choices and preferences.
Okay, so it's a scary thing to do, but at the same time, not doing it can be also scarier, because
not doing it would be sad for the person. They would be alienating themselves, and they wouldn't be maybe doing such a good job in that fake kind of job. But they have more chance of really flourishing if they're in the right domain, I think.
And I feel like in some cases also your parents can surprise you, so you're maybe over exaggerating. But
absolutely, Camille, because very often it's the inner child who got used to that subjugation for a very long time, who might be triggered in a moment like that. But the adult knows that the parents actually may react differently. They don't have to react in the old way. They may be looking at you as an adult as well now, and they may actually accept or respect your decision. So it's worthwhile taking a risk, a chance to do that.
Yeah, I like that we touched on that subject, because I feel like a lot of people can relate at different levels. Maybe not people who want to do an extreme career change, but also in small things that they're doing.
Yeah.
And another also topic is in the theme of careers is now the job market is very competitive, and it can be really challenging for someone to find a job, and there are a lot of rejections, a lot of ghosting from companies, and it can really hurt self-esteem. Do you often see that, and how do you cope with that?
Yeah, that's also very common because there's such, as you said, such competition now. And the market, the job market is oversaturated. It's very common, more likely than not, to be either rejected or not have a company answer you for months. You apply, you've done over 200 applications for jobs and you're getting nothing. It's been 6-7 months, and then you're starting to take it personally and feel like, oh my god, I'm worthless. Right. And that can happen often with young people who are so motivated, and they've got this energy coming out, proactive, they're ready, they've done really a good job at uni, and now nobody wants them. They're getting no answers or no jobs for them. No, they're getting rejected. So the trick here is not to associate your self-worth with rejection or with what others are doing about you. So it's like going on a scale. So if you weigh 50 kilos on the scale, and somebody comes and says, you know what, Camille, this company thinks you're horrible and doesn't want you and thinks you're lame, is your weight going to fluctuate? No. Somebody comes and says, oh my god, you've just landed the best job in the world, is your weight going to change? No. And so is your human value. You're worthwhile regardless of what you do or don't, or regardless of what others say about you. It's good to remember that.
And I feel like it's hard because we're used to, like at school, for example, you get a good grade, so you're congratulated, then you get a bad grade, so you're punished. So we're used to associating with achievements and
exactly. So we're taught very often in the school environment and the structure to associate our self-value and worth with achievement. As you said, you achieve, you reach your goals, you're good enough. Some schools even rank children as being first place, second place. They make them compete with each other. That's not very healthy at all, actually. Yeah.
So how should we perceive self-worth, and what should we associate it with?
I think that the truth is that you are worthy of attention, of love, of education, and getting a job. You're worthy of shelter, of food, regardless of who you are, what you've done, what you haven't. You could be someone with zero education, someone who's never, done anything good, really, for themselves. Criminals get, they get lawyers, and taxpayers, are paying for their food in prison. That's because they have human worth, and they deserve to be treated as humans with value. So it's good to remind yourself to be focused on the doing and not the self.
Okay, interesting. What does that mean?
So if I'm rejected, it's not because overall I'm no good, because I'm very complex as a person. I can't be labeled or defined by one thing or another, right? If I was rejected, it could be for 1, 2, or 3 things, parts of me, but not the whole of me. Because for you to reject me as a whole, you would have to know every single aspect of me, which is impossible.
Yeah. Okay.
The way to look at it really is to think of everything you have. As Camille, there's your outer side, your inner complexities, starting with your genetics, to your memory, to your sense of humor, to your personality, character, life experiences, background, education, which part of you is being rejected? All of you? That's impossible. If you think this way, you're going to be motivated to apply again and look for other jobs, and to keep socializing, and to keep getting into relationships after a really bad breakup. But if, on the other hand, you label yourself as no good because of the rejection or whatever it is, then, or the negative judgment, then you're really setting yourself up to be emotionally stuck, and demotivate yourself from doing anything further to rectify the situation.
And I feel like it's something that is said a lot, like accepting yourself and things like that. But how do you accept yourself? Like, is it all in your inner dialogue of?
It's to recognize that as a human being, I'm imperfect. I do have negative attributes. It's impossible to have, and it's impossible to be completely like all no good, labeled as no good, because it means that every aspect of me is negative and bad. And that's impossible because in this world, there's no perfection really. So you cannot be perfectly bad or you cannot be perfectly good. We're all somewhere in the middle. We've got good and bad. So if you recognize that and recognize you've got limitations, then you would go on to accept yourself unconditionally.
Okay, I feel like we can speak a lot more, but for the purpose of this conversation, is there something that you feel you want to say that we haven't touched on that's important?
I would have liked to talk about values as well. It's important for young adults to recognize their values and tap into them when they're faced with this new world that they're, going to embark on. It's a new stage for them in life.
Yes.
It's very easy to be swayed. It's easy to feel helpless and hopeless and give up. Go back to your values and recognize what they are. And remember that you are very valuable as a person and you matter. So that will also probably help you be grounded and know you don't have to be perfect. And it's okay. Yes, it's okay to make mistakes. And you don't have to be on anybody's standards. What's important is to be true to yourself, to follow your dreams, your goals, and be flexible on the way.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I feel like it's really important also to not have unrealistic standards of what we should do and how we should be.
Absolutely. Yes. It's just, to accept yourself as a fallible human being. And sometimes you look at a couple or someone and you think, wow, they're so accomplished. Or what a nice couple they are. They seem to really, have it all together. And you think, this person, they've got the looks, the brains, they've got the job, they're so popular and everything is they're so lucky, everything is great. But if you were to really go deeper into their life, you're going to see that they have a lot of suffering as well and a lot of imperfections. And it's because they're human. So that's why it's important never to compare yourself to others. Yeah, it doesn't help.
Yeah, and I feel like it's an important realization also to know that we all have things that we're working on. No one is perfect. No one has the perfect life. But it's just that maybe also now with social media and everything, we just see the positive parts of someone.
Totally. Social media is definitely fueling admiration seeking. It fuels perfectionism and unrelenting standards that you can't reach. And it's not realistic. Yes. So it's good to keep your values, as we go back to values, and your beliefs intact. Keep a check on that.
Yes. Okay. Thanks a lot, Nadine. I really enjoyed this conversation.
I enjoyed it too. Thank you very much for having me.